Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. I took a look, and apparently, as of last stream, we had reviewed exactly 2,000 songs, which is pretty cool. That's a lot of songs that we've listened to and analyzed and provided feedback on, and I'm proud of that. So cool. Now we're on the next mark that we're going to go for is 3,000, or maybe we should just go for 10,000. Either way, I think it's pretty cool. That's a lot of music. Cool. Let's go here. I think that's a good place to go. And let's grab the songs that you have submitted today. Review 1,001 stream. I should do like a like a speed run. How long would it take me to do a proper review, provide valuable feedback on 1,000 songs? That sounds like a full day adventure, maybe even more, maybe 2 days. I don't know the math on that one. Whatever, who cares? Let's, I'm just wondering when your next Monstercast song will come out. Me too. It's a great question. I'm just wondering when the next time I make music is, because all I do is make electronics now. But I hope soon. I'm going to try to have one release this year, which is kind of a sad goal to have, but it's the goal that I currently have. So anyway, let's listen to some music. Sorry, my AC is on because it is like 32 degrees here and I'm cooking. And once I get going and listening and thinking and talking, I get even hotter. So I'll have the AC on for now. I don't know if you can hear it or not. Whatever, who cares? Let's have a listen to Aiden Dodge, Fly High, Future collab with Zradar. Is that how you say it? Cool. Let's have a listen. I think that the little chimey thing that should have X-Radar. Thank you. I think that should have some like reverb on it. It sounds very mystical, but it's also like super dry. And in this style of music, I would expect it to kind of have some whimsical reverb.
I can see Jesus. He's showing me the way.
If you want to fly high, then you should chase your dreams. Cause I believe you can be whatever you want to be. These haters be hating cause they don't know what to love. So don't let them tell you what you aren't capable of. I've been in the music industry for 5 years. And let me tell you, I fought through lots of tears just to get here. Been writing songs since I was 11. A day I always dreamed about since I was only 7. We're not gonna let the haters get the way.
They just need to get laid.
I'll be there to help you fight through all the pain.
Just listen to what I got to say.
If you want to fly high, then you should chase your dreams. Cause I believe you can be whatever you want to be. These haters be hating.
So, do you use OTT a lot? I feel like a lot of this sounds OTT-ish. I feel like the vocals in particular, I don't know if they have OTT on them, but there's like something super hypey about them, like not in a good way, like very hollow sounding, like the mids are missing or something. Yes, I think that's not a good idea.
Cause they don't know what to love. So don't let them tell you what you aren't capable of. And if you wanna fly high, then you should follow your heart. Don't let the haters succeed in tearing your dreams apart. You're gonna fly high, show them who you are. You're gonna touch the sky cause you're a superstar.
Yeah, I think I think the OTT on the voice is an issue. I also think that like another guy I get feedback from told me I should do that. Okay, well, you got to make up your own mind. But in my opinion, I'm not saying OTT on your voice is a bad thing. I'm just saying that I don't like the sound of the vocals in this specifically because of what I believe to be the OTT. So that's my feedback. And then you got to go and take all this feedback and decide on your own what you want to do. But to me, it sounds very hyped. And it also, the master is like pumping. Like it's very, sorry, I got to put my phone on vibrate. Especially like the cymbal swells. There's just less compression for the vocals and would be dope. Yeah. There's also fresh air on it. I don't know what that is. Is that like some new plugin that everybody's using on vocals? Anyway, just generally speaking, everything feels a little too compressed, and the OTT on the vocals is kind of bothering me. Like, if you listen to that crash, you can hear it pumping with the drums, but not in like a rhythmic way, just kind of like an this compressor's having a bad day kind of way, you know. So yeah, I turn that down a bit. I like the beat. I like the piano, the chord progression, the melody. I much prefer when you sing, and this is kind of like a cool mix of singing and rapping. I like that. I'm assuming that's going to be like a verse with X-Rater. X-Rater?
If you want to fly high, then
yeah, like those crash cymbals are just overbearingly loud.
Want to fly high, then you should chase your dreams, cause I believe you can be whatever you want to be. You say this be hating cause they don't know what to love, so don't let them tell you what you aren't capable of. And if you want to fly high, then you should.
Yeah, I mean, like the vocals, the performance is good. It's just the compression in the OTT is kind of a little bit much. Also,
he's showing me the way. I can see Jesus.
I didn't know you were a strong Christian with strong Christian values. It's a cool track though. I like the beat. Yeah, it's good. I think the production, it's almost like you got to turn off like your dubstep mindset and do like R&B mindset. You know, I feel like a lot of the issues that I'm hearing is that it sounds like it's trying to be produced like a dubstep song, and it is an R&B track. So that's I'm actually Russian Orthodox. Okay, cool. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't really know exactly what that means, but I wasn't really making a comment on it. I was just saying that I was unaware. It caught me off guard, but hey, if you saw Jesus, then keep it in there. Anyway, that's what I think. I think it's a cool track. Come at it from more of an R&B standpoint in terms of the mixing. Don't worry about getting it super loud. And I generally wouldn't put OTT on vocals unless I had a very specific reason to do so. And that's it. Okay, cool. Thanks for sending. Let's move on. Bats Life XII. Does that mean Bats Life 12? Sting. Okay, so my thoughts so far is that I like this chord progression. I like the vibe, but when the bass comes in, there's not really enough here to justify this section. It's just like, okay, there's a bass playing some notes, and then there is a drum pattern that doesn't really feel like it's in time somehow. So I think the good stuff was at the start. When you went into this bass thing, it's kind of starting to lose. This sounds like Heresy by 9 Inch Nails. Check this out. Why isn't it playing? What's it playing on? This computer. There we go. What? Actually, that could be a good reference for you. So, like, the timing is an issue here. I'm not sure what you're making this in, but the drum pattern doesn't feel like it's snapped to a grid, or it doesn't feel like it's going at the same tempo. I'm struggling to understand what's happening with the drums with reference to the bass. You made it in Band Lab? I don't know what that is. Yeah, like there's timing issues. There's things are not. I don't know what Band Lab is. I don't know how it works, but to me the rhythm seems out of whack. So there's some cool sounds, but the rhythm is just all over the place. I do not understand where the downbeat is. I don't understand they feel like they have their own tempos. Fowler is once again giving us fan service wearing a tank top. Yes, it's too hot for sleeves. I had to ditch the sleeves. It's a free DAW that you use. Okay. So does it have like a grid system? Are there loops that you're layering on top of each other? And if you are they the same key and tempo? Because to me, there's some cool stuff here, but like once you start layering things, they don't sound like they're in time with each other. You know what I mean? So I would look into that. Because, like, I like that bass line. It sounds a lot like that Nine Inch Nails track, which I also like a lot. But then the drums just don't feel like they're in time. So, you said it's a website. You said, what did you say? Band Lab. Make music online. Get started. No thanks. I don't know, dude. I like I said, I like the bass line. I like the chords at the start, but you got to get a handle on the tempo and how to get things snapped to the grid. I'm not sure how the DAW works myself, so I can't really offer you much advice in terms of that. But I'd check out that Nine Inch Nails song. I think you'd like it, and I think you might find some ideas in there. But that's the biggest thing. I mean, like, before you really do anything else, you got to figure out how to get this all in time with itself. Yeah, it's out of whack rhythmically. So sorry, I don't really have a whole lot more to offer, but I would start simple and figure out how to get a kick drum and a bass line going together and then build off of that. Okay, let's move on. We got Freeze, SDM breaks. Okay. Make sure I got this turned off.
Short dick, don't want no short dick, don't want no short dick.
This is funny. Yeah, you can throw one in. You go to the link at the bottom there and toss it in the August 2nd submission thread. This is cool. I think that the vocal that you grabbed, it's very fundamental driven. It doesn't have a whole lot of. Let me see if I can.
Don't want no short dick.
Yeah, it's very like muddy. It doesn't have a lot of brightness to it. So even if we just went like this, temporary.
Don't want no short.
Oops, hold on. I'll grab this. There we go.
Don't want no short dick. Don't want no short. Don't want no short dick. Don't want no short dick. Don't want no short dick.
See the difference?
Don't want no short. Don't want no short dick.
I'd probably like I'd probably de-S it as if you're gonna boost the top end that much, just so that the S's aren't like disgustingly bright.
Don't want no short dick. Don't want no short dick.
But you can hear when I go back and forth. That was the first thing that I heard when that vocal thing came in, was how kind of muddy and heavy in the fundamental it was, and light in the top end. So I'd brighten those vocals up and pull some of that 300 hertz down. It's cool. It's cool. It's a cool idea. I mean, that's all it is right now. It's a cool idea, but I like it. Every once in a while, the snares will, like... I do not relate to the lyrics, Drop Pop says. Why? You want a short dick man? Interesting. Yeah, every once in a while, the snare will be, like, less powerful than other ones. Yeah, if you want to drop it in, I do up to 20, and I think we're at like 17. So yeah, throw it in the Discord, and we'll have a listen. Yeah, that's what I got to say. I think it's a cool idea. It's just an idea. It would need more variety. It would need more kind of, build up, drops, breakdown stuff. But in terms of like an idea, it's pretty sassy. I like it. I don't know what else to say. All right, let's move on. Thank you for sending. Let's check out Get Through It by Industry. I'd probably have like more percussive stuff building up at this point. It kind of feels kind of draggy. I know you did add some stuff, but maybe like a clap or just something to kind of pick it up a bit more. So are you like planning on having vocals in these breakdown sections? Because like I love the chord progression, but they are the weak link of this track. I mean, like it's a good start, but it doesn't really provide enough valuable information to hold my attention. And like, I think that I think we have room for one more track if you go in the Discord there. I think when I'm listening to the FX, that kind of like top 40s riser sound, it's not bad. It works. I just think that it's a little played out. The Discord command doesn't work. I'm not that professional. You got to type it in manually. He could shorten it, but to be honest, because I know him, I feel like he put 95% of the effort into the drops, and then he was like, fuck, what goes before the drops? But I think it sounds great. I mean, like the chord progression's very what's the word? Engaging. It's very it makes me want to hear a melody on top of it. It makes me want to hear vocals more than anything. Like this sounds like a great track to have vocals on and then just tear it up in the drop sections. Nice. I like that little tie back to the non-drop sections. That's the shit that's good, and it makes it feel cohesive. Now imagine if you had the end hook of a vocal, you know, like a catchy little line that was at the end, and then back into the filth. Like it would be so good. I also kind of feel like the sub is a little heavy. I think if you brought the sub down, you could bring everything else up a bit, and the sub is still going to be the same volume, but now the rest of the track is just going to be louder because the sub's just constantly right at 0 dB, like max volume the entire time. And everything else is, you know, maybe minus 3 or 4 below that. So maybe you bring the sub down and then you bring everything back up. The sub's back up loud, but now the rest of the song is also loud. How do artists make those sidechain ducks that occur before the kick snare and make them sound good? Well, I mean, if you're using sidechain like the way I do it with a volume envelope or whatever, you know, then obviously you could just create the sidechain however you want. If you're using, you know, kickstart or some other thing that requires a input, what you could do is you could have a kick drum or a trigger sound that triggers the sidechain, but you can't hear it. And then you just shift that pattern over a little bit, and that causes it to duck down early. But I'm not sure if that's what he's doing. Like, I'm not sure if that's a good idea or not. I just, technically speaking, if you wanted to duck early before the kick hits, then those are like your two options, I think. Create a volume automation clip, or use an external source for your side chaining and have it silent, like not going to your master bus, and just shift it earlier in the playlist or in the song. But yeah, I think this really needs like some nice emotional, heartfelt vocals in the breakdown sections, and you're off to the races. And then I think the drop sections, you could probably bring the sub down just a little bit and then bring everything else up in the master. Besides that, I would keep going. It's, you know, I don't think it's long enough. I feel like we need like a bridge, but I think that would come with writing writing with a vocalist, which I think you should do. I think you should get a vocalist on this shit. All right, that's what I got to say. Thank you very much, industry, for sending. That was very nice and good on my ears. Let's check out Heat Wave by I Don't Know Who. What was I going to say? Oh, whoever sent a SoundCloud link, you got to send something that I can download. All right. So, yeah, the piano doesn't sound that great. The piano is very MIDI piano, Casio keyboard in the music room at the high school sounding. So right off the bat, I mean, like, clever my friend did for college. Okay, cool. Right off the bat, like, I don't mind what the piano's doing. There's a couple spicy little notes in there that, you know, it's kind of a musical taste thing. But I think having a better sounding piano right off the hop's going to be a benefit. You know, like a Contact library or something that just has a bit more character and less kind of bare minimum requirements to be accepted as a piano sound. Because this kind of just sounds like MIDI piano, like a keyboard that costs $100. I'm not really sure in terms of songwriting. I don't know why we started, like, if you think about this as like a narrative, I have an issue with adding pianos to everything. At least you know. In terms of like a narrative, why do we have this piano pattern playing for a while and then we just turn the tempo up with nothing else surrounding it? It's a little confusing. Like, I'm not really sure how I'm supposed to feel. When the track started playing, I was like, oh, I feel like I'm in a haunted mansion or something. Like, this has got like a spooky vibe to it. And then it played it for a while, and then 30 seconds in, it just plays it again, but faster. And you got to ask yourself, like, why? Like, I'm not saying that it's necessarily a bad move. It's just not super clear what you're trying to convey in terms of an emotion or an idea or concept. Like, there's not really, I'm just like, okay, now we're listening to the same thing, but faster, you know? And another thing that, you know, you got to ask yourself is, if somebody who doesn't know you, didn't give a fuck about you or what you do, if they hit play on this, are they going to last until whatever happens here? A minute and 10, minute and 11 seconds into the song? The answer is 100% no. Like, that's, if just a normal person hit play, and I'm not saying that you should try to write music to appeal to the normal people, pop music stuff, right? But it's just the piano sound alone, and that dun 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 dun, that's the only sort of idea that's happening up until like a minute and 10 seconds in, and most people would just be like, okay, next, please, you know, because it's a cool idea, it's a cool little riff on the piano, but like, it's not gonna hold my attention for a minute. Like, most people lose their attentions after 10 seconds, let alone a minute and 10 seconds. So anyway, okay, I'm beating off a dead horse. Here we go. So, yeah, I mean, like, okay, now there's a bunch of energy, and I'm like, oh, wow, I had no idea that was going to happen, right? But most people, I don't think, would make it to that point. I think they would honestly skip the song before it got to that point. So that's something you got to keep in mind, is like, okay, I got this, like, cool high-energy drum and bass thing happening, but it doesn't really matter if nobody hears it. It's kind of like if a bear shits in the woods, does the Pope hear it, or whatever the saying is. Now, when we get to this section, I know there's a little bit of difference, right? Like in the wee synth, you've like changed it up a bit, but we just listened to basically like one idea. We listened to it from about 1:10 to 1 minute, so say 30 seconds. And then I'm assuming we're going to listen to this for another 30 seconds, and it's only very minorly different. So there hasn't been enough of a development to keep my interest. Like, I'm just like, okay, I've already listened to it. I've already understood it and digested it in my brain. And now I'm going to listen to it for another 30 seconds, but there's nothing really new. You know, there's very slight differences, but I don't think it's enough to justify another 30 seconds of that. Let's keep going. Like, if you look at your project file, I bet you'll have, I don't know what you use to produce on, what DAW, but you'll have like a bunch of things that probably just kind of go, right? And sometimes the best thing you can do is just go and like, okay, we don't really need these two things at the start. Okay, maybe we could drop these two things out, and now we have this variation, and maybe we drop this thing out too, and maybe this stuff doesn't come in until this section happens here. You know, like if you look at your project and you notice that there's a lot of the same elements that just go on and keep doing the same-ish thing for a long period of time, that's kind of your, that's kind of like your indication. It's not necessarily, because at the end of the day, if it sounds good and it keeps the audience's attention and it's engaging, it doesn't matter what it looks like in your software. But I can kind of picture this, and there's just a lot of the same elements, you know, for a long period of time. So there's, I guess, not enough development or variety. There's not enough stuff to keep my attention. The next easy thing I would say is, I think your sub bass could just go down an octave. Minecraft. Yeah, I think you could go down an octave. Like, the sub isn't very low. It's very kind of nasally, kind of makes me feel like we haven't gotten to the drop yet, sort of thing. So let's figure out what note you're playing. Yeah, okay. So you're playing a G. And it sounds like you're playing up here. You could be playing down there. See, when I play down, I'm playing on top of the track, and I'm playing the notes, and it. If you're not listening with headphones, you might not tell the difference, but like shifting that sub bass down an octave just kind of fills out the whole song. You got lots of bright elements. You've got lots of like high frequency, exciting stuff in the track, but the sub region is a little bare and empty. It doesn't feel like it has much bottom end. And that's, I think, a lot to do with the fact that you are an octave up in your sub bass. Now, I do think you're kind of you're doing some octave shifting and stuff, but for the most part, if you're playing down here, that's a lot deeper and fills out the bottom of the song a lot better than. Yeah, okay, so let's keep going. Those strings aren't really doing a whole lot for the track. It's kind of suffering from the same thing that the piano is. Like, they just kind of sound like keyboard strings, keyboard piano. Like they just don't sound that good. They just sound kind of like, oh yeah, okay, those are strings, you know? Oh, now we're down in the octave. you can hear when you go to this section, when you have this sub, it's got like depth, right? But when you go to this, it just kind of sounds, it sounds a little dinky because you don't have that depth in it. I like the switch up, but I don't mind the sound of the synth, but the whole drop just kind of has that synth. It kind of goes back to the same thing I was saying before, where it's overstaying its welcome. Like, cool. I like the kind of ravey kind of synth, super saw thing that's happening. But do I like it enough to listen to it for like a minute and a half doing basically the same thing? And the answer is no. So anyway, that was a bunch of random thoughts. The Latin drums is my issue once again. That's a cool switch up. I like this switch up. It doesn't really make sense to have it at the very end of the song. I think you could probably have a bridge section or something building back up to a drop using that, because it kind of feels like we're getting a reprieve. Is that what it's called? A re something. It's almost like breaking up the monotony of it. This needs a King Cobra drop. Kong, 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 Kong. Reprise. Thank you. I think you're right. Anyway, those are a bunch of random thoughts. Thank you for sending, and I hope that helps in some small way. Let's check out this next one. That is an interesting shape. Huro. I don't know how to say that letter. Tropa de Bololo. Brazilian funk. Okay, here we go. What is going on with this frequency hard cutoff at 15K? You sent in a WAV file, but I don't know if it was always a WAV file. Maybe like whatever's being sampled is just like a YouTube kind of thing. Low end is Brazil. Lol. Elbow car. The song, yeah. I was just curious. There's like a hard, like it's like the funk kind of part almost sounds like it's an MP3 or something, which is very possible, and maybe that's fine for this style of music. The first thing that crossed my mind was as you were filtering up in this section here, I can hear clipping, but it doesn't sound like intentional clipping. Like it doesn't sound like distortion for like funk reasons. It's kind of clipping and clipping randomly on left and right sides. I would probably figure out what that is, and I would like distort before the low pass filter, or just be a bit more careful if you have some sort of distortion after the low pass filter, because it doesn't sound intentional to me. Like there's like the distortion when the kick drum hits, that's fine. But then there's just kind of almost objectively bad sounding clipping that's kind of... The only rule is to saturate as much as possible. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I understand that. Like I get the saturation and the distortion. But I can hear that and I can appreciate that part of it, but there's more to it. There's clipping that's like on the sides. Like that really sharp sounding clipping when everything else is kind of like a more tube kind of saturation sound. Then you've got like this digital clipping on the sides, and you can really hear it here too. I think too heavy a master. Is your filtering before or after the saturation on the effects list? To me, I mean, I do want to know that too, but to me, here's what I think's going on. I think there is saturation before the low pass, but then I think that there's some unintentional just clipping afterwards, whether it's a plugin that's has its output clipped or its input clipped or something in the master. I don't, obviously it doesn't look like it's clipping because it's still got headroom. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really necessarily know how to fix it without seeing the, what's actually causing that clipping. But there's this intentional saturation, and then there's just kind of digital clipping that doesn't sound intentional to me. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. I wonder what this drop would sound like. What would it sound like if you got rid of the da-na-na-na-na, the almost like fake guitar sound? I wonder what it would sound like if it was just more like bass driven with the distorted vocal funk thing going. Because then you could do that up until this little turnaround here and then bring it in here. And now all of a sudden you have kind of a bit more of a progression. You have a development in the drop. And I also think that this drop section would hit harder if it didn't have a lot of the same elements that came before it. You know what I mean? I wasn't going to say it, but you are 100% right. It looks definitely like a penis that has had a bite taken out of the center of it. Anyway, let's listen to the bite out of the center of it now. Yeah, I wonder if I really do think that taking out that like fake guitar sound, that thing in the first section of the drops is gonna be the ticket, because we just listened to it. Basically, the whole song has it in it, except this little break. But like it's in there the rest of the time, and and it's not exactly the nicest sound in the world. Like, I'm not a huge fan of that sound in general. I'm not saying that it could be personal taste, but regardless, it's not exactly the most easiest sound to listen to. So pulling it out of like the first half of the drops would give my ears a chance to like relax from it and maybe crave it a little bit. And then you give it back to us halfway through the drops. Tried to saturate it as much as possible to avoid copyright. That does not work. That's not how that works. But if that's how funk does it, then I guess that's how funk does it. At the end of the day, if you make a song and it includes somebody else's intellectual property or recording, and it blows up and generates a bunch of attention and potentially money, people are gonna not be happy about it. Now, if you made a song and it doesn't blow up, and that's fine, you play it in your sets, you have it on your pages, you're still infringing on copyright, but probably people aren't gonna care. So it's tough with this style of music. If I was big into making this style of music, which lends itself very heavily to sampling, I would probably just make my own source material and then sample it. I've done that quite a few times, actually. It's like, well, I want to sample like a 70s track to get that funk, but I don't want to have to deal with like clearances or not clearances. So why don't I just like pick up my guitar or get my friend who knows how to play saxophone or something? Let's make a little 70s section of a song, and then we'll sample that. And now I own the sample that I'm sampling. And anyway, I know that that's not necessarily doable for everybody. But that's how I kind of that when I need to get around sampling stuff, you know, say I'm like, there's like this old 70s track that has this really cool riff in it and this cool guitar sound, and I really want to sample it. I might just try to use that as inspiration and write something, you know, myself that's similar and then sample that. I don't have a guitar or a friend. Shit. Sorry to hear that, dude. Anyway, those are just a collection of my thoughts. I hope that they help you in some way. Okay, let's move on. We got Tesseract, CEO of Underground. Oh, God. I'm ready. Yeah, I mean, like, this is sick. Production is dope as always. I think what I would say is the drops, although I love them, I feel like there needs to be some sort of counter drop. Like there needs to, you got the and you got all the variations. There's lots of variations. It's not like you're overdoing it in terms of like the individual sounds and stuff. But I kind of feel like after you drop a certain way for a certain amount of time, I want like, not a total switch up. It still has to, you know, have something to do with the drop before it. But I just kind of feel like the da na na na, it just kind of gets a little old. And I feel like it doesn't get as old as you think it would just because of how intense the production and the sound design and the little switch ups. You know, it's almost sneaky. Like it gets away with it longer than it should, because let's see.
Underground. CEO of Underground.
Yeah, see, we're still kind of always anchoring the start of each phrase with brow, 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 like always. And I just wonder if you could somehow come up with some sort of counter melody or counter phrase in the bass, not just switching up the sound design, because you've successfully switched up the sound design many, many times. You've no issues doing that, and that's obvious. But I do think that I don't have any solid specific ideas on how to do this, but if you could have some sort of response to that whole phrase, that kind of just breaks it up a little bit, right? What else was I going to say? I feel like in this section where the little turnaround with the watching the skies or whatever the words are, I feel like the vocals you should almost just not have the bass there. Or if you do like low pass it really aggressively, like the vocals, it kind of sounded like the beat was pulling back to let the vocals come through, but then there was still like a big Reese bass that was like up front and center on top of the vocal. So I think there's certain sections where you go to like drop the beat out so that the vocal can do like a cool hip hop moment. I feel like you got to commit to that a little bit more. You almost could do, you know, like, let me see what note it is. Okay, so like maybe every other time you could go F, E, F, and, or sorry. Yeah, F, E, F, F, E, F, and then F, E. Yeah, there could be something else there that just kind of gets away from just constantly going. But yeah, overall, obviously very, very dope, very cool production. Mix and master sound great. Technical shit is on point as always. I just think if you could add a little bit of variety melodically. If you think about, if you strip away all of the sound design and all the production, and you just think about the notes, if I were to play this on a guitar, I would just be playing F, E, F. Well, I hopefully would do a better job than that because I also played a D. Anyway, that's what I think. That's really my only concern, was that it just felt a little monotonous at towards the end. I was like, okay, I'm kind of finished hearing those two notes. And if you could still play those notes a lot. I think if you just broke it up with something every once in a while, or if you did create a call and response. I keep doing that. I hit the keyboard and it's playing your track. That maybe will add a little bit more depth to it melodically. All right. That's what I think. Thank you for sending. Let's check out, I don't know how to say this, Project 14 Whip. This sounds like a cross between the Tarkov music and Doom Eternal. It's very cool. I like the track. The drums seem kind of weird to me. So if you listen specifically to the kick and the snare, and then you listen to the cymbals are like a mile away, but the kick is the loudest thing in the track. So they don't, like, the drums don't feel like the drums. They feel like individual drums, if that makes sense. So, you know, I would probably mix them a little differently. I would listen very carefully to, like, the Doom Eternal soundtrack, because that kind of sounds like the direction that you're taking. And listen very carefully to how the drums are mixed. I don't necessarily... I can't speak on that right now. I haven't listened to the stuff in a long time, but I feel like you will hear that the drums all sound like they are coming from the same spot. They sound like they're coming from one drum kit, which is bigger than God. Now, right now, the kick drum sounds bigger than God, but everything else is smaller than God. Now, there are moments in the track, like right here. If you listen to just the bottom end, like the bass, I don't know what note that's supposed to be. It sounds like there's more than one note being played in the bass. I almost wonder if you would be better off to do sub bass separation and just have like a sub bass, you know, like high pass your guitars and bass. Take the fundamental out of them and then replace it with like a synth bass that can be very easily controlled, manipulated. There's no phase issues. There's no like power chord sounding bass notes. That's what this is sounding like right now. It sounds like the bass is playing like a power chord. Bass is layered with rhythm guitar. That really doesn't mean a whole lot to me. I mean, like, yes, it's also layered with the drums and the synth and the cymbals and the effects. I'm not really sure what you mean. See, like the... If it is a real bass guitar, I like the character, like here. I mean, plays the same notes. Like, plays like power chords. So is the bass playing more than one note, I guess, at one time? That's my question. Yeah, this part's sick. Like the riffs and shit are all very cool. Gogor, I'm sorry, we're already at 21 songs, so I'm gonna have to cut it off. You can submit next week though. So yeah, the track is, the riffs are fucking cool and everything. It's just the mix of the drums doesn't sound convincing as a real drum, because like the cymbals are so clean and just kind of in the background. You want the that's all gif? I was thinking about doing it. There we go. But I just, yeah, it's the bass, I think that's, and I think that's mostly what's giving me a hard time. So let's see if we... All right, I can't high pass the master because that's also where my bass is going. Let me just see what happens if I send your track to a track and high pass it. Get rid of... I'm not going to be able to do it because I don't know the notes. Whatever. I think there's just too much stuff happening in the bottom end. And the whole one bass player playing one bass note, it doesn't sound like it's being upheld in this. But yeah, so overall, I would say the drums, I think, should get glued together a little bit more. Bring your kick down a bit. Bring like your non-kick elements up. The snare's kind of pretty close to the right volume, but the cymbals just sound weak. Like they just kind of sound like somebody in a different room hitting cymbals. So I'd do that, and then I would try to clean up the bottom end by maybe, first of all, making sure your bass isn't playing power chords way down low. That's not going to work. It's going to be dissonant and rumbly. And then maybe consider just high passing your guitar and bass and keeping the character of it, but then coming in with a sub bass and mixing that in. You don't really want it to sound like there's a sub bass. You just want it to have a nice solid fundamental down in the bottom end. And yeah, that's it. Cool. Thanks for setting. Let's check out 7 Bad Bitch.
Smell like Medusa. I'm tryna eat that. I'm tryna eat that ass in the pussy. I'm tryna take it a pound, 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 pound. I'm tryna lay that pussy down on the ground. I was a bad bitch. I wanna fuck me too. I wanna fuck me too. I wanna fuck me too. I was a bad bitch. I wanna fuck me too. I wanna fuck me too. No freaking that I wanna do. I was a bad bitch. I wanna fuck me too. I wanna fuck me too. I wanna fuck me too. I was a bad bitch. I wanna fuck me too. I wanna fuck me too. No freaking that I wanna do. To me.
Okay, so first thing, very cool. I like that. The vocals are very loud. Like, I don't think the vocals need to be this loud, at least before the drop section. They were like hitting the master pretty hard. I would pull them back just a little, maybe pull everything back just a little bit before the drop happens.
I'm trying to take it a pound, that pussy down on the ground. I was a bad bitch. I wanna fuck me too.
My next suggestion is you've got kind of this background, wee, like...
I was a bad bitch. I wanna fuck me too. I wanna fuck me.
That the thing that glides up. It's cool, but I wouldn't have it in the first section of the drop. I would wait and bring it halfway through as like a pickup, as like a, okay, it's getting more serious thing, right? And I'd probably make it louder in the mix too, because right now it's mixed just so subtle that it's cool, but it sounds like it wants to be a main element. But it's not mixed as if it's a main element. It's mixed as if it's like room ambience. And I might also, instead of just sustaining it the whole time, maybe when the whoop whoop wub happens, take it out and then bring it back after the whoop whoop. So it's more playing back and forth between the wubs and the squelch, the scream, the siren, whatever you want to call it. I think if you wop wop wee, wop wop wee, wop 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 wee, wop wop wee, so you're going back and forth, you're creating a phrase out of it instead of just having the wubs wubbing and the whining. I think having them a bit more aware of each other is gonna go well.
I wanna fuck me too. I wanna fuck me too. I was a bad bitch. I wanna fuck me too. I wanna fuck me too. No freaking that I wanna do. To me, I wanna fuck me too. To me, I wanna fuck me too. To me, I wanna fuck me too. To me.
Again, like these breakdown sections, they don't have to be right slamming loud as, they don't have to be as loud as they are. They feel very pushed. The vocals are clearly going right rail to rail in the master. I don't think that's necessary. I think like chill out for a second, let the vocals sound good instead of being loud, because you're kind of choosing one or the other here. When you push them that hard and they're hitting probably the original compressor, the original master bus, and then you probably have them going into another compressor and another master bus, there's just like too much compression, and they're very aggressively compressed. And it's unnecessary. I mean, this is like a breakdown section. Like even the music's kind of smooth, and like, you know, maybe just let things chill out a little bit and then smack us in the face with the big drop again.
I wanna hunt me too. I wanna trap me too. No freaky that I wouldn't do to me.
Again, I feel the same way. That siren thing just sounds like background noise when you mix it in like that. I think take it out until you're ready to play it, and then when you play it, really play it. Bring it up front, use it with the other synths to create phrases. A lot of tracks use sustained basses as background filler. Cool. I don't think it's right for this one. Okay, that's what I think. I think it's a dope track. It's very aggressive. It's got some swag, as the kids say. But those are my thoughts. Okay, moving on. Let's check out Rydens. I know nothing about music production. All right, let's have a listen. I mean, like, the guitar riff is sick. I really like... It kind of reminds me of, what's that Kanye song that starts off with, like, the distorted guitar sound? Anyway, it was very cool up until this section. I love that make up your mind. Do you know how to make music or not? Yeah, like, the guitar riff is sick, but then, like, this section... Like, fake bass being played fakely for an extended period of time is not necessarily the best move, I don't think. And also the fact that it's panned, you're right. Yeah, you're panned over to the left for some reason. So my suggestion is to not do this. Now, when we get here, I would probably expect that guitar riff to be hard panned left and right, where you play the same thing. You can't just copy. Some people, I don't know how far into music production you are, but by the title of the song, you're not far. It sounds like you know how to play guitar, though, which is great. So a lot of people will record the guitar riff once, and then they'll like copy and paste it and pan one left and one right. But all you've done is it's still in the center because it's the same signal. It's just twice as loud now. So what you got to do is play every riff at least twice, and then you can take the two different recordings of the same thing and pan them hard left and right. And that gives like the classic rock guitar sound. It's pretty accepted that for the most part, for something like this, I would expect there to be a double recording where you recorded the same riff twice and you hard pan them left and right. Like back here, I think you had some of that, but it might have just been like a synth or something you layered with. Anyway, the D, not good. We've covered that one. Kind of reminds me of like what's Death from Above, 1979. But yeah, the riff is cool. I would I would try the double recording thing just to, if you haven't already. I'm also assuming that this is you playing the guitar. I guess this could be like a sample from a sample pack or something. But his stock guitar never came back. But yeah, overall, the riff is cool. The track is cool. To me, it sounds like you played the guitar because there's a couple little spots where it's a little out of tune, but like not enough that most people would notice, but enough that I noticed and kind of feel like you actually did play the guitar. I double the guitar, pan them. I wouldn't do long, sustained, fake bass sound things. That just nobody wants to listen to that for an extended period of time. And then maybe look into bus compression on all of your drums to get them a little bit further up in the mix. But also, if you think about it from a stereo point of view, your guitar is really loud. It's down the center. Your drums do have some stereo width, but for the most part, they're also down the center. So the whole track is kind of like fighting with itself down the center. If you hard pan the guitars left and right, that pushes them to the side, and now there's more room for the drums and maybe something else. Maybe the bass guitar could be centered as well. Okay, that's what I have to say. Thank you for sending. Let's check out the next one, which is PGX, which I believe is an old Sega synthesizer. I think the sound chip in a Sega is called a PGX something something. Let's have a listen. This is really nice. I dig this. I think vocals, the vocals are a bit muddy. They're very, I like the doubling of the vocals. That's cool. If you could triple them, then you could take the back. You could have one main one down the center, and you could pan the two doubles a little left and right. And you can also, sometimes what I'll do too is I'll have the main vocals very full-bodied sound, and then if I have doubles, sometimes I might pull a lot of the low end. Oh, they are tripled. Okay. Well, if they're tripled, to me, they sound like they're all dead center. And if you've got them tripled, let me listen again. Maybe they're not. Would you still be here? Oh, I guess, well, that was the harmony. It felt a little wide. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you might have them panned around a little bit. They could probably be panned a bit more. But the bigger issue, that's kind of like a taste thing, right? The bigger issue, I think, is the muddiness of the vocals. And it feels like there's a big buildup of energy right here. Yeah, right in this area. And not a lot of, like, brightness to them. That's why I was initially doing... Would you still be... Like, that to me sounds a lot better, and that's a big gain, right? Like, let's go back and forth in this section bypassing. Would you still be here? Looking for a place to be in, but why like it just brings up the airiness and the life in the vocal we hear. And if you do boost the top end a lot, you might have to DS. But for the most part, I think the vocals are just very fundamental heavy, a bit muddy, and there's not a lot of clarity to them. You might also try, like, I don't necessarily dislike the fact that they're not perfectly in tune with one another. There's like kind of like that indie sound. Yeah, I'm reading the chat, but I'm also in the middle of a thought. So you go ahead and ask your question. I'll answer it when I can. I would, now I forget what I was talking about. Fuck. Whatever. Okay, we'll keep going. It'll come back. Thanks, Katia. Right. So them being out of tune with each other kind of gives it that like indie vibe, but you might go in and melodyne them a little closer, so that there's some moments where they're a little wobbly, and that's emphasizing kind of the low frequencies of the voice. If you tune them just a little bit closer, you might find the clarity goes up. But overall, I think you probably need to add some brightness to the vocals anyway. I'd also like, there's certain moments like right here. This is a pretty big moment. But there's no like fanfare. There's no crash. There's no swell. There's no effects, right? And I think that that's kind of, especially because the vocals, like, you could almost drop out everything except the vocals, then have a little whoosh and then like a crash cymbal effects swoosh thing. Yeah. So like everything that's in this drop section sounds cool to me. But again, like right at this wait a minute. You know what I mean? Like these sections require some accents, some cymbals, and just you don't need to go crazy on the effects with this style of music, but just stuff to really reinforce, like, hey, this is a moment. That was a moment, you know? Here comes a moment. The moment is coming. Here it comes. There it is. You know, like just to emphasize it a bit.
If I find the reason, would you still be here? Looking for a place to be, but why am I? No, it's hard to be where I need. But even though I see it clear, still feels like I'm dreaming.
See, like right in this moment right here, you can see that peak. You know? I don't know why it used to just always go to a high shelf. See, like, this is a pretty aggressive EQ curve. But to me, it sounds better with this EQ curve. If I play it, we'll do this.
Feels like I'm dreaming. Feels like I'm dreaming. Feels like I'm dreaming. Feels like I'm dreaming.
So this is an aggressive curve. I'm not saying you should put that on the vocals. I think that you might have other things that are causing it to be muddy. So instead of band-aiding it with a crazy EQ curve, you might want to do a little investigation to see if there's like a reason why they're so muddy. And if they just are muddy because of the recording situation or something, then okay, maybe you got to get a little aggressive with the EQ curve. But maybe like your reverb is very loud and the reverb itself is very low frequency biased. It has like a high shelf cutting a lot of the high end out of the reverb. Now all of a sudden, maybe the reverb is the reason why it's feeling so low frequency biased. But anyway, that's something you got to look into. I do think objectively that the vocals need to be, I got to come up with a better term for this, like defundamentalized. That sounds like a political term. It sounds like have a political stance on a controversial topic, but defundamentalized. You need to like pull some of that fundamental bass frequency out of the vocals. I think this section's a bit bare. You know, you could have some drums building up while you've got your low pass thing happening, but it's just a little kind of boring. With the synth sounds cool, but in terms of pacing, it just kind of loses its pace. Yeah, the low octave thing I don't like. I don't think it's really doing a whole lot. It sounds very different in terms of timing, performance, pitch. It doesn't feel like it's cohesive. Like the other three vocals on top of each other sound like a package deal, but then it just kind of sounds like, oh, now we've added somebody else. I don't think it's doing anything. When you get to this section, I would maybe drop everything out except the vocals. And then with a swoosh and into the drop section. I think that would be cool if you could even pull it out sooner. You could maybe pull it out right here. You could drop everything out except the vocals for that whole section and have a little swoosh into the drop, and that would be fucking sick. You could have a pride of snare too, right before the drop. Anyway, the track is cool. I think it's at a good place for like a demo, and I think now you got to start thinking about how can you really reinforce the ideas of this track by using effects, by using production, by making the vocals sound better. The musicality of this is solid. It's just coming down to the sound of it that could be better. So anyway. Yeah, it's dope. All right, cool. Let's move on. Thank you for sending that in. Let's have a listen to Multifox, Fucking Noise. Yeah, okay, this is cool once it gets into it. The problem I'm having here up until the drop is that it just sounds like we're missing like half of the track. It sounds like I loaded up the stems from a remix pack for this song, but I didn't load in 4 or 5 stems. Like there's just not really... It's just kind of... It's kind of Pac-Man sounds with the beat. So I think you're going to have to figure out a way of like... adding more elements and like making them feel like we're moving towards something. Right now, it just kind of sounds like fucking noise, you know?
Fucking noise.
Also very mono. This section is very mono. If we look at the so you could do some things. You could layer another kind of bass sound with that bass sound that's very wide and kind of add some, you know, add some depth to it or dimension, I guess.
Fuck that fucking noise.
Yeah, I mean, you know, no risers. I agree. Like yeah, there's just kind of a lack of elements. It's like the stuff that's there, and I get that. I get that, you know, it's early on in the development. You're just kind of flushing the idea out. The stuff that's there, it's cool. But there's just not really enough stuff there. It's just kind of like I really like the vocals.
That fucking noise.
I'd probably, like, you know, I could probably do it because it's pretty easy to see the sections. So if I take this
Noise.
and I put it here, I don't know. Let's see what it sounds like.
Noise.
Or maybe put it here instead. Is that the snare?
Noise.
Yeah, see, that's cool. The dialogue vocal thing sounds dope. I wouldn't overuse it, but I think you're underusing it right now. Yeah, I mean, like, hey, you got some cool ideas in here, but it's just a lot of B B B B B B B B B B B B B B B B B. So you got to get more elements and more notes, I think. You know, like you could kind of, there's definitely a lot of tracks that stick at the same note for a long time in the drop, but if you're going to stick at the same note for a long time in the drop, you might want to try to get a few more notes in it in the not drops. You know, doesn't necessarily need a chord progression per se, but I just think that you kind of have enough ideas for like 30 seconds and you've stretched them out to 2 minutes and 30 seconds. But I think it's at a good spot, you know, to work off of. Sticking to the same note is my specialty. That's funny. Yeah, I mean, like that. I think that's my main note on this whole thing is that you got some cool ideas in here. You got some funky noises. And I like the vocal thing. I just think that it's pretty underdeveloped right now, which I'm sure you're aware of. So I'm sorry if that's not the most useful feedback, but that's pretty much, I think, what I got. All right, let's check out Meta Archeon, Archuan, Onion, Monsoon Heart. Here we go. This piano sounds good. I like the chords and everything. I think when it gets to this section, I think there should be more elements. There should be something, maybe like a atmosphere, something happening. We're getting whole note piano chords, you know, and yes, the chords are good, but we're getting whole note after whole note after whole note. And it's kind of gets a little monotonous after a while. For this section, if you're going to drop out this soon, what I'd probably do is not draw. I would do this. I think your kick could definitely come down quite a bit, and your snare could also come down quite a bit. Because like the song is so quiet, and if I were to try and boost it, you can see what's going to happen. I'd also have the bass come back in here too. It feels a little empty without the sub bass. Yeah, I would bring that down just so that you can get the whole thing a little bit louder. I also think that there's a lack of effects, you know, swooshes, cymbals, uplifters, downlifters, whatever the fuck a downlifter is. What is a downlifter? How do you lift something down? Anyway, just that sort of stuff, kind of ambience. This sort of music, this sort of like liquid drum and bass has a lot of ambient stuff, a lot of little ear candy and whatnot. So I like that synth that comes in, but it's kind of ear piercing. A down pusher. That's a way better name. Yeah, like this new element that comes in. It's so drastically brighter and kind of a bit harsh. Like it's such a change. I think it's a bit much. It's a cool sound, but if I could like get in there and just make it a little less like it's kind of sticking out like a sore thumb, a foursome. Yeah, there's just a lot of like frequency, and I think if you could chill that out a little bit, it's just kind of like it's trying to be super hype, but the track is kind of like a what's the word I'm looking for, kind of low-key liquid drum and bass, so it just sticks out a bit. Yeah, I think having some effects, sometimes I just like try to dedicate like, okay, for the next hour, I'm going to do nothing but effects because I hate doing effects, but they're very necessary to glue everything together. Right. So yeah, take like an hour or two and just be like, okay, I'm not going to do anything, even though I want to adjust that bass and I want to adjust the EQ on this and that, whatever. Just like, no, I'm not allowed. I have to do effects for the next hour. And then after that hour is done, you'll be like, wow, It either sounds amazing or I put way too many effects in. Yeah, I think it's dope, though. I remember you sending it before. I don't remember what my feedback was on the other last time you sent, but I like it. It sounds good. It's a cool track, and I would encourage you to keep going. All right, let's check out Live Tet Noctem. I swear to God, sometimes I feel like you guys just send stuff in that I just, I'll have a hard time saying. Here we go. You could EQ some of the high end out, but you might want to instead just like open up the synth itself, and instead of trying to like create a problem then fix a problem, fix the problem at the source, which is the synth itself, and maybe like the distortion or something that, you're putting it through. Anyway, let's keep going. This is sick. My first thought. That nee. The track is feeling very mono in that moment. And I think that the moment is like a big moment, so I wouldn't want it to sound that way. Let's watch this. Yeah, you see how it like collapses almost full mono. It goes almost like 100%. Well, it kind of does go 100%. My next thought is there's a lot of cool little like sound design wubs and like neuro shit, and I think that at some of the times when those happen, they're just being kind of cluttered by other sounds. So I would go through and pick out certain moments, like you do kind of do it from time to time. But like even right here, you have that thing in the top end, and then you have and I would do the high pitch sound right to here and then cut it out and just have by itself. And then every once in a while, I feel like we're going back to that mono sound. I think it's this upbeat sound. Okay, this is gonna suck for a second. I apologize. It's not necessarily mono. There's something that I don't like about that sound. I'm not really sure what it is, but like every time that sound happens, it's kind of like not the greatest of sounds. Are you planning on putting vocals in this? That main lead sound, I'm wondering if that's the same sound that I said I didn't like. It sounds like it's low pass or it's dull or something. It just sounds like nasally. Oh, fuck. Yeah, I think it is that lead. It's like it's very. It doesn't have like it doesn't have like the air to it, and it's very loud in the mix. So whenever it happens, it kind of gives the whole mix that like muffled nasally vibe. I don't necessarily think it's too much saturation. It might just be the type of saturation, maybe any filtering that you're doing before or after the saturation. Maybe it's just a volume thing. There's just certain moments where things just get like very nasal resonant-y. Yeah, like here, I'm not feeling that way. Yeah, I think it's that lead. I think what I would do if I were you is I would take that lead and just mute it and listen to the track and get a feel for how the track sounds without it. And then listen to those, bring it in and listen specifically for this like nasally sound that I'm talking about. And then if you like that, then I'll go fuck myself. But if you don't, then maybe you could figure out a way of like reducing it a little bit. And there's also, it sounds like maybe there's like two synths doing like a harmony on the lead or something. When they're playing together, they just like take over the mix with their sound signature. Like they're imposing their frequency response on the mix because they're so loud in the mix. And I think that's the thing. There's been something the whole time that I'm like, that just sounds congested. There's something that sounds congested. And initially I was thinking it was maybe a stereo field thing. But I think it's more of just like a sonic thing. Like the sound of that is a bit muffled. But the song is dope. I mean, especially if you think you're going to have vocals in it and you can let the vocals kind of drive the arrangement a little bit. I think it's going to be a sick track. I would just look into, I think it's mostly the lead sounds. It kind of is like, you've got like these really cool neuro sounds happening, nice and deep, lots of it kind of scooped in the mids a little bit, and then you just have like the synth lead that just kind of sounds like a nasally lead. I don't mind what they're I don't mind the melody that they're playing or generally the sound of them. It might be a matter of like an EQ sort of thing, or maybe if there are like 2 or 3 lead synths, send them all into a bus and then, you know, process that bus accordingly. Thanks, dude. I'm glad that you enjoy my feedback. I'm just letting my brain connect straight to my mouth, and what you get is what you get. And for the price, it's pretty good, I think. All right. That's what I think for this one. Thanks for sending. That was dope. Let's check out Late Eyes, King Cobra Alize. That's good. I like that. It kind of sounds like if I went to hell and they had a Six Flags. If Six Flags existed in hell, this would be their theme song. What do I have on the master? Nothing. But King Cobra has yes on the master. I mean, it's sick, dude. Like I like that the kick drum has a thump to it. If I had to make some sort of recommendation, it's that I kind of wish it had some brighter element in it somewhere, somehow. Like something to add a little bit of brightness. It's got the bass under control. I don't think you need to worry too much about the bass. I am curious as to how so many of these little things are sneaking by your master bus. Like what's up with that? That's interesting. And it's like on the hi-hat. It's weird. On the, maybe like a transient on the kick. What? I don't know. I think the kick drum sounds good for this style. I just think like, I don't know, maybe like, you know, like a rave generator, synth hit or something, or just some sort of like non-bass element, I think would be sick. But this is cool. I like this King Cobra Alive song so far. Late Eyes, Eyes. Oh, it's a remix. Oh, that would explain the Six Flags vibe. Anyway, it's dope. I don't know what else to say. Cool. Okay, here we go. The one time I don't use rave generator. That's funny. All right, Ice Kayab, Mr. Produce Man, I need help. How do I take this further? Okay, open-ended question. I will see what I can say. I mean, it's sick. I think what you need to do to take it further is ban yourself from working on the drop any longer. Do not fucking touch the drop. Do not even think about touching the drop until you create an intro, perhaps a breakdown, perhaps some sort of chord progression which makes sense with this drop idea, maybe a melody perhaps. I think that you have spent a lot of time creating a nasty drop and you've done a good job at that. But now you need to stop working on this, I'm going to say 35 seconds of audio. You need to not work on this anymore. You need to start building a song. You've created a cool drop, or at least the start to a drop. Now you need to write a song. There needs to be context. The thing is, like, you can have a really hard-hitting drop, but if you have context, all of a sudden it goes even harder because now it exists in a world. There's a story behind it. You can get behind it a little bit more emotionally, right? So that would be my suggestion, is stop working on the drop and start working on the not drop. And if you're having a hard time with the arrangement, load up a track that you love that's this style and just like straight up rip off the arrangement, at least as a starting point. I'm not suggesting that you go copy people, but if you're stuck, I mean, like, arrangements aren't really copyrighted, and most arrangements are very similar. So sometimes loading in a track, you know, like say this, you love this track, and then putting your drop where their drop is, and then somehow figure out how to do what they did, but for your song. Anyway, that's pretty much what I got to say. I think it's a cool drop, and I think that you need to stop working on it. Cool, that was easy. Next up, Bass Freak, funny 190 beats per minute thingy. All right, let me change this to 190 since you told me. I should just have it as a rule that you got to put the beats per minute in the file name. Anyway, whatever, let's go. That was fun. I like that. Octropolis. Do you see your? I don't know what track you sent in, unless your name is the same in Discord as it is. Anyway, I grabbed. It was. If was it the Dropbox link, then I grabbed it. I mean, this is. Oh, okay. This is what I was gonna say right here. That wow 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 is very quiet. Like everything's super loud and then it drops out and it has this wow wow way woo. But it's like so quiet versus everything else. So it kind of loses its impact. I didn't download anything from SoundCloud, so no. And I won't. Just upload it to Discord. Or not, because I'm already gonna be here for a while. Yeah, the wah wah wee woo needs to be louder. Wah wah wee woo. Wait. Hold on. I have to join a voice call so that I can open the soundboard and do. Wah wah wee woo. Wah wah wee woo. Oh wait, is that coming through? Wah wah wee woo. I don't think it is. Oh wait, maybe it is. Hold on. Wah wah wee woo. Oh yeah, it is. Sick. Anyway, that's wah wah wee woo. Wah wah wee woo. I think it's from this. Which one is it? There's wah wah wee woo. No, not that one. This is kind of a little off topic, but anyway, whatever. Yeah. Feelings well will be or just take the one from my Discord voice soundboard. Wow, can't talk. How do I disconnect from this call? There we go. Anyway, I think it's dope. I think you should keep going. The arrangement is cool, but it's not done. It's only a minute and a half. So figure out a way of extending it. And I think that's all I got. It's a very interesting track. And sorry if I'm not being super useful. Anyway, let's move on. We got Oxidize. The fuck is this? Dude, I felt that. That's basically me when I wake up every single morning. It's like, shit, I got to do it all again.
Slowly walked away from tragedy. Wish I could have taken my case from me. Put it on the past.
presence never tell you. And if I look back, turn to a summer song. I must carry on, ignore all the miles that lay between us. Can't grasp the amulet, only reach dust.
So, okay, here's what I'm going to say with this song so far. Holy fuck, I just noticed that. Anyway, it's cool. I like the song and I appreciate the aesthetic of it, but I think that if it could, and I may have said this pretty much verbatim, Fowler feedback stream submitter reference. Anyway, I might have said this exact same thing before. If you could somehow bring this a little closer to normie music, you know, a little more typical, but without losing the character of what you've got, where it's like, you know, kind of lo-fi, kind of home recording, mono, 124 kilobits per second. If you could somehow harness the character of that, but present it in a more typical format. It is a song on a concept album, so we can't really do that. Okay, I'll shut up then.
For a long boy. There can only be one. There can only be one. A battle for
The really impressive thing is that I knew it was coming, but it still scared the shit out of me.
a battle for
Oh, God. Okay, well, 10 out of 10 unique. I don't know. 10 out of 10 unique, though. It's a good track. It's very conceptual. It's very out there. I think any feedback I would give you would wrangle it closer to the normie music, and that is clearly not what this is supposed to be. So keep on doing you. It's dope. I mean, like, it's hard for me to give feedback on something like this because it's just so out there, you know? But that's not a bad thing. It just means that the people that love it are going to love it way, way hard, and the people that hate it are going to hate it way, way hard as well. And that's fine. That's way better than being mediocre and nobody giving a shit. So keep on doing you. All right, let's move on. Free. Oh, this one doesn't cost money. That's cool. Multi-thread. Oh, and it uses more than one of my cores. That's excellent. That was great. Really, really good. I know I was kind of just fucking around, but it's actually really good. The one thing I would say is the intro, like I'm all for dynamic range, but I don't really think that the intro needs to be that quiet. I would, you know, I do think there should be a swell and a crescendo and like some dynamic range so that when this moment happens, it, you know, it happens and it's a moment. But I just think that everything up to this moment could just be like, you know, let me see if I can do this, make it unique and maybe more like that, you know. So we still have some dynamic range. We're still swelling. But you got to think, we're listening to 30 some seconds of this piano, which sounds great, by the way. Like the playing, the sound of the piano, everything it sounds like you actually played it. But anyway, we're listening to 30 seconds of it, but it's very, very quiet, you know? And now, if this was written for picture, and that's a whole other thing. If this is like original soundtrack that I'm going to listen to on Spotify because I love the music, then I would probably want this beginning section to just be louder so that I'm not like turning it up and then turning it down and turning it up, you know, just a little bit less dynamic range, and maybe rely more on the instrumentation and the sonic qualities of the different instruments to give it even more of that dynamic range, not necessarily just straight up like amplitude dynamic range. Besides that, I don't say, dude, it's beautiful. It honestly sounds really good. And I don't think I have anything else to nitpick. Just maybe a little louder at the start. The end. Okay, thank you for inspiring a strange movie idea. Let's move on. Oh God, I gotta flex my Frenchness here. Live. Anyway, we're gonna listen to this one. This is really cool, but I just want the vocals to be in the middle. I don't think I like them panned. It's kind of weird to me. Dab flap, I do appreciate that, but this is it for this week. I got to cut her off. But next week, I do it every Friday, so I'll get you next week. Yeah, I think so far my main concern is just like the vocals being panned to the left. Also, there is just a normal production feedback channel in my Discord where people help each other throughout the week, so feel free to drop it in there too. But every Friday at 5 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time, I come on and listen to them and give you my dumb ideas. This is super cool, though. I think centering the vocals and then trying to work out the arrangement is going to be the tough thing, because you're kind of loitering a little bit, you know, from here. Don't know if the lyrics are unclear or in a like. Yeah, I don't necessarily know if I can understand any of the words myself. That's a good point. It doesn't necessarily bother me in this style because it's kind of like it's more about the melody, I think. But yeah, I think the arrangement, it kind of loiters in this, like, it doesn't really change much, I guess is what I'm trying to say until this section. And it's very cool when it goes to that, but I think it should go to that sooner. And I think maybe bringing in a 16th note shaker with a bunch of swing or something, just like adding more elements, because yes, it's a cool beat, and yes, I could definitely study to this, but it doesn't change a whole lot. So I think what you have right now is dope, but I would go to this switch up sooner, and then I probably wouldn't work on any of the rest of the sorry, I wouldn't work on this section anymore until you get sorry, I'm distracted by this master. Are you talking about my master? Because there's nothing on it. Anyway, I wouldn't work on this section anymore until you get the rest of the track kind of flushed out, you know, like an idea of the arrangement, because it's so easy to put that off and just sit here and fiddle with knobs and make things sound super good and everything. But like, the longer you spend working on a small section, the harder it is to get out of that rut and make the rest of the song. So now that you have kind of like a couple solid ideas for sections, just sketch out the song, the length of the song, 3.5, 4 minutes, whatever. Sketch it out, even if it sucks, even if certain sections of it are, you know, just a drum beat or something. Sketch it out, get the arrangement right, and then go start coloring it in. You can see the threshold on the waveform. Okay, so you're talking to the original producer and his or her master thing. Yeah. I don't necessarily have an issue with the way it sounds, besides the panning of the vocals seems strange to me. I think now it's just like, how are you going to turn this into a song? You need to turn this into a song, turn it into a song. The end. Thank you for sending. Let's check out the last one of the day. Hatman. I made this in Ableton a while ago. It better have some kick-ass hi-hats with a name like that. Dude, is this like math rock? Like I feel like I need to be doing like longhand division or something to get the length of the measure. Okay, so far this is what I think. I think the drums are the weakest element. I think using the Windows sound and the bass line that comes in, the synths, those are all super dope. But those drums are just like dinky. Like there's no real power. They're just little transients of drums. So I feel like, especially considering the first 10, 15 seconds of the track is just drums, which doesn't really make sense. I would... Like, the track is so cool besides the drum. Dude, this sounds like kablooey. Hold on. Stand by. Player one, get ready. Kablooey. I have like this kablooey register score not made for TV. Raise the volume in the beginning. Yeah, easy peasy. It was really good. But now we're going to listen to the kablooey original soundtrack. Oh, here we go. An ad.
On the world stage, I don't think about how I'm younger than most people. That doesn't matter once you dive in the water. It's who can touch the wall first.
Endless possibilities lie ahead. Gold medals, sold-out stadiums, MVPs, world records, Hall of Fame, future generations wanting to be just like her. When we all believe in her, we all play for Canada.
God, I love that game. Anyway, it just was literally when you turn on the game, it does that drum roll. And it reminded me of... Anyway, blah, blah, blah. That's not helpful to you. I think what I'm trying to say is the sound of the drums, not necessarily the programming of the drums, the sound of the drums just is not that good. They're very thin. There's no real body to them. There's no bottom end or impact. It's just little transients. So I don't necessarily know exactly how I would approach this. To me, the synth work and the stretched out Windows sample, all that doesn't really lend itself well to like metal sounding drums. Like I would think more vaporwave kind of sounding drums to me. Now, this isn't my song and it's not my idea. So if you love metal sounding drums and you love them on synthy Windows sounds, then that's great. I would, do what you want to do. But I think maybe if you just like tried to go in the vaporwave route for drums and just give it a shot and see what it sounds like, you might like that better. I think it would be more fitting. Either way, if you do decide to use the metal drums, they've got to be processed in a much different way. Like just at the very bare minimum, some overall bus compression to try and gain some impact and some like depth and power. Because right now it's just pure trans. You can just see from the waveform. I mean, like I could shave with the edge of that snare, I'm assuming. I mean, I could try just like slamming a limiter on it and see what happens. So like, yeah, at the very minimum, adding some compression to the drums will add more power. But I still, in my opinion, those drums just don't really fit the style of the song. That is an intense drum fill. See, like, these drums fit better, but why is this section so very, very quiet all of a sudden? Yeah. Anyway, that's what I think. I think the drums are the weak link here. They are weak, and they need to be engirthened. Or swapped out for something a little more conducive to like the vaporwave style. Okay, that's what I have to say. This is me in full screen format, and I thank everybody for hanging out with me. I love you all. You are doing a great job. Making music is tough, and you are fighting the good fight, and you're doing a better job than me. So I hope that you have a good weekend. I hope that I have a good weekend. Because why not? I might as well hope that for myself. Okay, thanks for hanging out. See you next week. I love you, and goodbye. I'm going to click the thing.